Hey everyone, and welcome to That's Peculiar. I'm Nathan,
I'm Andra.
and we've got another exciting show planned today. I really feel like we're getting into our rhythm when it comes to recording.
I think so too.
I'm so glad, and I think our audience will also appreciate. Oh, we have other countries that have listened to us now.
No
Yeah.
way. Who?
Yeah. I don't remember. Let me go look. I just had it.
Dang it.
I know. Okay. Let me find
I
it.
distracted you.
You did. Okay. I didn't even think that we were going to talk about this, but it just popped out of my mouth. So here we go. Oh my god, it's not loading.
So I have a fun fact.
Oh, a fun fact. Cool. Okay.
I think I have shared this one before. So if I have, just be like, you already did
We're
that.
only 8 episodes in.
Yeah, except I can't remember. So seahorses mate for life.
Oh, yeah, you haven't told me that one.
Okay, yeah. Seahorses mate for life, and they actually, when you see them with their tails wound around another one,
Yeah.
they carry their mate around like that.
Oh, okay, don't worry, I'll carry you for a minute.
Yeah, it's like them holding hands.
Like when sea otters sleep, they hold hands. So they don't lose each other.
Yeah, I actually swear to God learned that from one of my kids' toys.
What part? That the sea otters hold hands?
No. Yeah, it sings that.
Oh, that's so weird. But I mean, it's very nice to know. But also,
yeah, it says otters
go
hold their friends' hands while they sleep or something like that. That's the line.
I love that.
And I never knew that. Yeah, it's cute. William loves it.
That is really cute. But also, male seahorses carry the children before they give birth.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is. I mean, what do you wish that the human male could do that too?
Yeah, I just wish it was an option.
Yeah, you want to experience this? Go for it, dude.
Yeah, you can give birth this time.
This time. I'll do it next time. You carry the first one, I'll carry the second one.
Yeah. In my case, I did it the first time.
Yeah, your turn. Thanks.
Okay, well,
what are you drinking? No, what are you drinking?
Oh,
I gotta know.
I didn't think we were doing that.
Of course.
I am drinking Black Sheep, of course, because I get it for free. It's Calaveras County Cab Sauv, so Cabernet Sauvignon, for anyone who doesn't know Cab Sauv, 2010.
So I just had my birthday, and
yes, I know.
I met one of but nobody else knows that.
Mm-hmm.
So
November 10th.
Yes, thank you for that. So I met one of Ross's friends, and she brought me a bottle of wine, and it's called WTF, Wines Till Friday.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a red blend, and it's pretty tasty. I think it needs to be breathe a little bit more, but it's good. Yeah.
That looked like a screw cap, right?
It is a screw cap, but most wineries are going that direction because it's more cost effective, and also cork is, I guess, becoming harder to find or get because it's more expensive.
They're actually doing these rubber kind of replacement corks. Yeah, they're not as weird as what you think. You've had a bottle of wine with one in it.
Yes.
And didn't. So that's actually what they're replacing. I don't think they'll ever fully replace with just screw top.
I'm not mad.
Neither do I. I love when I don't have to have a bottle opener. But I do think screw tops sometimes they don't sit on the shelf for as long. So it totally makes sense that you would feel that way. Even with a really good wine, they don't sit on the shelf as long.
Yeah, I think you might be right, because the cork actually is really airtight, and you can't really guarantee, because you have the hermetic seal, and then you have the cork, and then with the screw top, the hermetic seal has to be perforated because you have to be able to break it. And where? All right.
Guess we'll get into it.
Yes, please. I'm curious what you have for us today.
I have a famously insane episode.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
Yeah. So today we are talking. So this is essentially part 2 of Famously Insane for anybody who has not listened previously. And today we are talking about Mary Todd Lincoln.
Famously Insane, Mary Todd Lincoln. Yay! I'm so excited.
Do you know who Mary Todd Lincoln is?
Actually, I have no idea who that is.
Yeah, that's okay. So Mary Todd Lincoln was the first lady, wife of President Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, that definitely checks out. Yep, now I know who it is when you said that.
It's okay. I didn't either. She did have a nickname, Molly. So, like, some people might know her by Molly because it seems like a pretty prominent nickname. I refer to her as Mary this whole time. I didn't go for Molly.
Please don't call her Molly. That Mary,
Yeah.
like, hers is Mary Todd Lincoln. I have a question. So, since we were talking about Mary Todd, does this go back to when they still kind of used the middle name as the maiden name of the? No,
no.
She's not a
well,
Todd?
She was not a Todd.
Oh, okay.
This might still be that time period because it's 1861 to 1865, but she was born in, like, southern United States. So I don't think, it's not every religion that does that.
Oh, no, I was just curious because I really like that idea.
Her family. So do I. I love it. But yeah, no, her family didn't do it. At this moment, I can't remember what her last name was originally, but it's like Witherington or something like that. It was
That's a long last name.
It was kind of long, whatever it was. But Mary Todd Lincoln obviously was the first lady, and this was from 1861 to 1865.
Okay.
She was born in Lexington, Kentucky. So she was born December 13th, 1818.
I like that.
What?
Oh, I know Lexington.
Mm-hmm.
My friend Lindsay lives in Lexington. I believe it's Lexington.
Hi, Lindsay.
I know she's probably listening on YouTube.
Hi, Lindsay. She was born into a prominent family of the time and was mainly raised by her very strict stepmother. This is before the Civil War, and her family did have slaves growing up. Later in life, she was a big supporter of the Union and against slavery, and so was Abraham Lincoln, for anyone who doesn't know that.
If you didn't already know that.
Yeah. She also was really well educated. I want to put that all in here because, it's a famously insane episode, so something takes a turn. But she was very well educated no matter what people say. And she came from a prominent family before she met Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, okay.
She actually had several very prominent suitors in the world going after her before she met Abraham, which she met him in Springfield, Illinois. They were married November 4th, 1842, and 9 months later had their first son.
Did you ever find out, like, why they met in Illinois?
She moved to go be closer to her sister, who was married and living in Springfield, Illinois.
Okay, cool. I was just curious. Like, what are you doing there? Were you there for a visit? No, you moved there.
Yeah, she went to go be closer to her sister. But it's suspicious timing. They had their first son 9 months later.
After they got married?
Right.
It's giving shotgun wedding.
Giving, but not confirmed.
Well, of course it's not going to be.
I'm surprised more people haven't dove into that.
Of course, it's not going to be confirmed. Nobody wants to be like, yeah, we definitely had sex out of wedlock in the 1800s.
Yeah, I wish somebody would.
I wish they would.
Yeah. So.
Okay, sorry. Quick pause.
Yeah.
All right.
You found it?
Yes, it finally loaded. So we've got the United States, obvi. We got Russia, I mentioned before, and now we have. I know, Sweden.
For anyone who doesn't know me, my family is from Sweden. One of my grandmas was actually a first generation Swede.
Swede. And then the last one is Ireland.
Ooh, I love Ireland.
Yeah, how
Jack
interesting is
and I
that?
want to go to Ireland for a honeymoon or our wedding if I can convince him to take off and just go.
So cool. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's all right. Thank you guys for listening. Whoever
Yeah,
it
thank
is.
you so much. And also, please share.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay. Sorry for
to the
the
story.
interruption. Yeah. Abraham Lincoln and Mary had 4 sons. However, only 2 of them survived into adulthood. Their names, which I'll go through important ones as they come, but
Okay.
Robert Todd Lincoln, he lived 1843 to 1926. Edward Baker Lincoln, he, I believe, lived the shortest amount of time. He was born 1846 until 1850, so he lived until he
Oh,
was
he was only
14.
4? Oh, 14. 14. I can't math. Oh, God. 14.
No, I can't math.
Wait, you
It
said
was
46 to
4.
50. 4? Okay.
Yeah, that's 4. I can't math. I'm
I was like,
sorry.
hold on. I was like, oh, it's 14. I believe you.
Oh, there's no. Okay, I was kind of close. So it's actually William Wallace Lincoln.
Oh, the
He
third one. Okay.
right. He lived until he was 12. That's the one I was thinking of. So it's 1850 until 1862.
Yes. Okay.
And then Thomas Tad quotes. That's his nickname, Tad
Had.
Lincoln. I love that little nickname. I think it's cute. He lived 1853 until 1871. So Tad and Robert obviously lived the longest. The other 2 died pretty young.
Did you happen to find out why the 4-year-old passed away, or was that not?
Some
I'm
of
just curious.
them, I I actually didn't want to dive into child deaths, but
Fair.
I know what happens to some of them. I think the 4-year-old, it's the 4-year-old or the 12-year-old, one of them got sick and
Oh,
passed away from
yeah.
being sick. And it's the 1800s, so.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I was just curious because of the time period.
One of them, and I'm so sorry, I didn't dive into it because that's not my jam.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, I didn't look into it, but I do know one of them passed away from being sick. Okay. November 1860, Abraham Lincoln was elected the 16th president,
In
making
November, what?
making Mary the first, oh my God, first lady.
Yes.
My head was like first wife. Nope, that's not
No.
it. First lady. And Mary was in the public eye a lot, and some say she enjoyed the spotlight maybe too much, but she was also a huge supporter of her husband's career. So she wasn't, to me, I see her as kind of a go-getter. She didn't want to sit at home. She also was a sort of moral support during the Civil War.
Mhm.
She often visited hospitals around Washington to give flowers and fruit to wounded soldiers. She took the time to write letters for them to send to their loved ones. She also hosted many social functions. Um, the
So,
social functions
so it
were,
sounds like she was pretty caring and
she was a lot of, like I said, she's considered moral support, but some of the social functions, or all of them, were at the dime of the White House. So some people from,
you said the dime, like the White House paid for it, or
correct, yeah,
okay,
that's what I meant. So people saw it as like frivolous.
frivolous
They
spending.
yeah. Even though I'll get into it more. We'll
Okay.
just dive in. But I do want to note she did some very great things for people lower than her class. Like she was very high class. Obviously, she was
Yeah.
married to the president. She was like writing letters for soldiers to go to their homes.
Yeah,
Like,
that's what I was trying to get at. It's like she was like she would put in the work, and she actually
yeah,
she was very supportive, as a first lady you would want her to be.
right. Thank you. That's how I would feel it. During her time in the White House, she had a carriage accident. So she fell out of the carriage, it sounds like. That made her suffer from migraines. She did have migraines occasionally before this, but it made it worse.
Interesting.
So she's, yeah.
So she just smacked her little head on the pavement.
Right. Or probably not pavement, probably dirt, but
the ground. I don't know. Maybe a horse kicked her. Who knows?
Yeah, it just says a carriage accident. She was widely disliked as well in the White House.
Oh.
Some even thought of her to be a Confederate spy. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's cold.
Something with that is her family was on the opposite side.
Well,
they lived in the South.
Her family was from Kentucky. She was where she was born.
Right. So although she didn't agree with these policies, I believe her brother served
for the
in the Confederate Army, which must have been such a hard place to be in. One of her brothers was actually killed during the war.
Wow.
On the other side. So I can see why, in some people's defense, they thought she could be a Confederate spy. Just her whole family was basically against her.
And I'm guessing part of her personality in the White House might have lent to that.
No, I disagree.
I don't know. I don't know how she was to her staff.
No. I think it's only actually high class people of her social standard, I'm putting that in quotes and unquotes, that considered her lesser than.
But why? She literally became the first lady.
Yeah, people just didn't think she behaved appropriately. And we'll dive into that more, but okay. The frivolous spending, she went and wrote for soldiers, like all of that was deemed as a lesser thing to do. It's not what most first ladies, would do in this time.
Okay, I'm excited to get into it further because I have opinions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So she was wildly disliked and this was particularly by people in the papers and of the same class. On April 14th, 1865, she sat next to her husband in the theater where he was shot and killed by an assassin.
Kablam.
Mary was holding his hand when he was shot in the head.
God.
Yeah. So nobody can see. Nathan just has a gaping mouth. Thank you.
My mouth is a gape.
I never really thought about the people sitting next to Lincoln before. Everybody just talks about Lincoln's assassination, but they never talk about people that are with. He had friends with him.
There was people in the booth. Yeah, I literally always just thought like, oh, he's sitting by himself. Someone came up and went kaboom. No, yeah, there would be people sitting with him in the booth.
Yeah,
of course his wife would be with him. Why wouldn't she?
He had friends that were in the booth with him, and the husband of the friend, I'm so sorry, I read about him and I don't remember his name. He was beat up in order for the assassination to happen. So there was
beat
a little bit more than what people say. Yeah, it said he withstood severe injuries.
Dang.
Yeah, not by the person who shot him. It was by an accomplice with him.
Oh, see, I thought that the gunman was by himself, happened to sneak in, open the curtain, and bluey. That's what I thought.
Something Booth.
Yeah, J. Wilkes Booth.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what it is? Look, I know some history, but I'm bad at it.
No, that was great.
But that I always assume from school. I guess I just assumed that it was just him by himself.
Yeah, he was just by himself watching a play. I know.
No, and the gunman, I didn't realize that he had accomplices.
Yeah, I never did either until I was that. I'm thankful that you didn't, because I was like, why don't they tell of this?
They don't tell us that there was other people. It's like they just say, and he was assassinated by John Wilkes. Is it John Wilkes?
Yeah. Anyway. That is that.
But he was assassinated. They don't say that, oh, he had this accomplice and it was this plan and then it was that. It's like the American history just doesn't care enough. They just want you to know that he was assassinated.
I was also thinking, like, why don't we talk about first ladies?
They're women. That's the best I got, to be honest.
Yeah. It
I
just
mean,
is ridiculous. Like, I never even, to be honest, I don't think I really even paid attention to him having a wife.
honestly, though,
You know?
I do have to say, like, now, though, we're kind of getting more into, like, the first lady does get more attention. I mean, if you look at, like, Hillary Clinton, like, she was more well-known during his term. And then...
I don't think that should count
What do
because
you
he
mean?
cheated on her.
I mean, yeah, but I also feel like she was doing something. But then you get Michelle Obama, and she had her own thing going. And then...
I think Clinton, though, did so much more after she divorced Bill.
Okay.
Or, no, they never even got divorced, did they? I don't think they did.
No, I think they're still
Either
together.
way, she did more after his presidency than I feel like during.
Yeah, I think you might be right. But I mean,
she tried to run for presidency.
I think
twice, right?
I guess I think the only like first lady who really was like in the forefront in office would be Michelle Obama that I can remember in most recent history. Like even Melania Trump, she really I feel like they don't do anything. They don't get mentioned, but they do stuff. Like I know that they're supposed to they decorate for Christmas, which I think is silly. If they want to, they should, but it shouldn't be like that shouldn't be like the thing. But I feel like they should be more involved with their own.
Are you telling me they're forced to decorate for Christmas? What if they're Jewish?
No, and I'm not saying forced, but it's like expected that they like decorate the hall, and Melania was not into it. And she's gonna have to do it again. I'm so excited for her. She hates doing it. She's got another 4 years coming. Maybe.
Anyways. So like I said, I never really thought about the people sitting next to him when he was killed. The trauma she must have had from this, and this is after she has already lost 2 of her children.
Absolutely.
Just a note for anybody who doesn't know this, Abraham Lincoln was killed April 14th. The Civil War ended April of 1865. Some of the top soldiers had already conceded, and he was in a really good mood, high spirits, and they printed in the paper that him and his wife would be going to the play. And
that's why I don't tell you where people are going anymore.
That's why I don't even use my blinker half of the time. Sometimes I think cars are following me. No,
surprise! I'm turning right.
I'm just kidding.
Excuse me. Why are you braking? Oh, you're turning. Oh, you're turning. Thank you for letting me know. Thank you.
She had actually been kicked out like from his bedside for hysterically crying. I put in my notes, like my thought notes, like what a freaking time to live. You just watched your husband
get shot in the brain.
Yep. And you're not allowed to show how upset you are.
No, you're in hysterics. You must leave.
I would be hysterically crying.
Absolutely.
Are you freaking, like, not to mention just like your husband passed away. Even if he had passed away peacefully, that is so sad.
Your world falls apart.
But she was like, they say that they were holding hands and she was like talking to him right before he died, and she said something super sweet, like the couple that they were visiting with, she was like, what would she think of me like hanging on you like this? And he said she would think nothing. That's what's said. Something like that is what's said to be like their last conversation. And then
you're gonna make me cry. I'm so
I know.
Sweet.
I'm sorry. It is so sweet, but it's also like, can you imagine the shock of that? Like, there was no preparation. You were just having a good time at a play, and people kicked her out of the hospital room for hysterically crying. All right, let's get back into it. I'm sorry, guys. It is said she never fully recovered.
Like, you're telling me.
You wonder why. Yeah.
My husband got shot, and it was before his time, and then I got kicked out of the hospital. the hospital for hysterically crying. I am going
Yeah.
insane, and you're coming with
Right.
me.
Yeah. Yeah. So she grieved in public, and people around her saw this as an example of her not being a proper lady. People of her class.
I'm sorry, Patricia, but
So
if I showed up and killed your husband in cold blood, do you think that you would be calm and collected as a proper lady?
this is what's expected. That's why I want to mention all of this. Like, the 1800s was such a brutal time for women. They were basically supposed to be emotionless housewives that just turned a blind eye to everything their husbands were doing and not doing, and it just is crazy.
I feel like even though there's like that proper expectation of things that you're supposed do this and not that, but you are, I would hope, emotionally attached to the person you're married to, and heaven forbid you express that through hysterically crying.
They
Like,
they're
I,
not supposed to.
what do you mean they're not supposed to? You can't control your
Ha-
emotion like that. I mean,
They're supposed. Haven't you heard the Miranda Lambert song? And she's like, something about like hide your crazy and start acting like a lady.
no.
Those are the lyrics, actually. I think I got those right. I'm
But
sorry if I didn't, but
I mean, I don't. But your husband, there is a difference between hiding your crazy and acting like a lady versus my husband just got murdered and I'm upset about it.
yeah, people didn't want her to grieve
No grieving love.
publicly.
Oh my god.
What I will say on the opposite end, she did also receive a lot of letters with condolences from people, including Queen Victoria, all over the world. And it was minus Queen Victoria. I think most of the people were just middle class, lower class, soldiers, all of that.
Oh, the people she was
And she,
caring for during the war.
correct, like people that I I'm going back and forth. From all the research I found, the people that didn't seem to like her were in her social circle. Everybody else seemed to like her. And I
Yeah,
just want to paint that picture correctly. I don't think she was a disliked person all over.
just by her social.
Although everybody makes it seem like she's very disliked, everything I found. So she tried to answer all of those condolence letters by hand.
Wow, good for her. See, I think that
Hmm.
definitely. I think you might be correct. It was just her social class. And so now they're trying to paint her in a bad light because she socialized with people lesser than herself.
They still do paint her in a bad bad light. It's just, I don't know. Okay. After Lincoln's death, she was commonly gossiped about. And according to a link that we'll post, but it's history.com, she was actually quote unquote the laughing stock.
The laughing stock.
Right. Rumors started right after Abraham Lincoln's death of how terrified people with her would view her expressions of pain. She would just like have these like sad, painful looks. And people said that they were terrified by it. She also, yeah.
Oh no, there
And
she
like,
is thinking about him again.
and she's sad. Yeah. She also took her time getting out of the White House, which I actually find this to be a little funny. She really took her sweet time getting out for the president coming in, and she didn't really like him. He never wrote her a note paying condolences, none of that. So she didn't like him, and she took her sweet time leaving the White House. I think it's a
Oh,
little
I've just been
vindictive and funny.
I've just been so distraught that I've been taking my sweet time. I do
Yeah,
apologize. I should be out soon.
yeah, maybe in 2 more months.
Perhaps.
Mary had been a big shopper in her life, though. So I had already said she threw events and everything. Well, she overspent budget and
Oh,
bought
oh.
frivolous items at the time.
Well, buying frivolous
Hmm.
items and having frivolous parties.
Well, right after Lincoln died, those shopkeepers wanted to be paid.
Oh, the bills came due.
Right. She was not. paid much from Congress, and she stated she started petitioning for a widow's pension. This was all to keep her debts a secret, obviously, but this is something to like note. At the time, they weren't really paid much of a pension after their husbands died. Just think living in the White House and then just something happening and that's it.
Well, so this is an interesting fact, and if you're listening, correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember Michelle Obama did a interview, and she said people don't realize that we actually pay for everything that we do. Like, like some things do come with White House, but like your meals and the food, you actually pay for it. So she says you have to be careful what you say, because if you say you want a specific dish from whatever, and someone hears you and they fly that in special, you have to pay for that.
Yeah. No, I think that is still what's happening. And like I said, here, she threw parties at the dime of the White House, but anything she did on her own, dresses, jewelry, anything else, she had to pay for, and they came to collect those debts.
No, you owe us, you bought on debt.
Well, after the White House, her and her son, because her oldest son was already married at this time, but Tad, her youngest, I think it's her youngest, started traveling with her, and they actually went to Europe, and they stayed there for a while. And then they came,
Europe.
I know, I did. Yeah, I heard it, and I was like, this isn't in my notes. This is off of memory, so I was like, thinking and saying. But she returned to the States, and Tad actually died in 1871. And this was right when she was just getting back. He died of a heart failure. Very sad. I know. So she had lost 3 of her 4 children at this point.
Got some unhealthy kids.
Yeah, or very unlucky circumstances.
That too.
According to some sources, Mary Todd Lincoln's servant, dressmaker, and confidant, Elizabeth Hobbs Heckley, recalled the wails of a broken heart, the unearthly shrieks, the terrible convulsions of a grieving widow and mother.
Dang.
Yeah. Mary had Elizabeth Hobbs Keckley as a servant, but I just want to put a note in here. Elizabeth bought her freedom for her and her son and then worked her way up. And they actually pointed to her for 20 years a slave and some other things.
So she was originally, you said she was a servant, so she was a slave that paid for her freedom, and then...
Correct.
Dang.
And then was later...
when you're a slave, though, that's the thing that I want to understand. And if you know this, please tell me. You're a slave, how do you pay for your freedom if you don't make money because you're a slave?
I think you save it.
From what? Slave?
I feel like I read about this before.
I feel like there's a side hustle? I don't understand.
No, so I think after the Civil War is where they started making money, but it was very, very low wages.
Okay.
So the Civil War happened, and they made very, very low wages working. Even the white class, they just did all kinds of stuff to keep people of color down while making it seem like they weren't, including the housing, and some of that stuff is still happening today.
Yeah.
But I think it's after the Civil War they had to start paying people, but they didn't get their freedom unless they could buy themselves freedom.
I'm gonna have to research this some more. I mean, I feel like
you should.
our education system did us quite a huge disservice when it came to when we learned about slavery.
It's not just slavery. It's
so many
things.
It's
the political, yeah.
Oh,
but
how politics actually work. Like, we have the electoral college, we have all these different things, and we don't really go into it in detail enough. It's kind of like a general sweeping.
Yeah. Well, one of the things, I'm in an ethnic studies class, one of the things, and this came up in my last episode, people that moved to America were not automatically considered white no matter what the color of their skin. So a lot of Irish were actually like really poor, and on the like racial slot, they couldn't mark white. They had to mark Irish. But when a lot of people of color after the Civil War started gaining power, and then there's mixed breeding and things like that, they started claiming people like the Irish, because it's a big group of people, as white. And then they had to basically social distance from anyone of color who they had been like living with at this time. And it's, if you stayed, it's a whole thing. I can keep going into it, but it's not super like, I mean, it kind of goes with this story. It just is insane. And another thing, one little more side note, another thing that really bothers me is our school systems are paid by property taxes.
Yes, they are. So that's why
I talked about that.
That's why when you go to like a highly affluent white area, the schools are very nice, as opposed to when you go to a lower, in quotes, lower class Black community, because they don't make as much money. And that's one of those things that's gerrymandering and the redlining, and those are all the things that we experience in the United States today to keep the people of color's class.
That's what people don't talk about, though. Like,
oh, why would they talk about that?
Open their damn eyes and realize like there's so many things keeping people like
down.
Lower class. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, there's my tangent.
Yeah, there's a lot we can talk about on that.
Yeah. There's my tangent. I know that's not what we're here for. Okay. Famously insane people.
Mary Todd. Mary Todd.
Well, she was for it, so it's good. But so she had her confidant, Elizabeth Hobbs Keckley, who recalled her wails and like how terrible it was. Later, people believed that Mary was bipolar. Like now, they still do. I'm not sure I necessarily agree with this. She may have been an emotional person, but she had lost her son, her husband, and she was living, like, had one living son at this point, their firstborn, Robert Todd Lincoln, and he's married, so she's, like, by herself, grieving. Yeah. She also was right next to her husband when he was shot. That just would drive anybody mad. And she may have seen some things, like...
Yeah.
He was shot in a very unfortunate, bloody, gutty place. Yeah. But this just shows the times. Like, women were supposed to hide their emotions. They were supposed to hide from public, and they were just supposed to manage their households. Ugh. So, Keckley, her confidant and friend, and Mary went to New York to sell her lavish clothing and jewelry because she wasn't getting enough pension to pay her debts. So they went under different names. Like, Mary wasn't getting enough pension to pay off her debt. So they went under disguise, quote unquote. But Elizabeth Keckley, as discussed, was a Black woman and not accepted, even though the Civil War was over. She could not even eat or go into stores with Mary. So Mary was kind of left without her person.
Huh.
And
even in New York, in the North.
Right. And she was then taken advantage of by W.H. Brady. A merchant.
Elizabeth or Mary?
Mary.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Because she didn't have basically her confidence. She was with her. She didn't have somebody with her.
Okay.
She was taken advantage of by W.H. Brady, a merchant who convinced Mary that the wealthy New Yorkers would donate money to her cause if she consented to selling her clothing in a public auction. He also convinced her to hand in private letters to validate her clothing. When this hit newspapers, she was God, she received so much ridicule and unwanted attention. The letters were considered a criminal breach, and she was attacked by the press.
Why was it considered a criminal breach?
Because it's handwritten notes when she was in the presidency.
Depending on what they talk
about. Lady.
Whatever.
They just considered it a criminal breach. Mary was given $3,000 a year as pension and was later raised to $5,000 a year. But she had never been this poor in her life. Like, she was desperate. She was trying to find a way of paying her debts off. She didn't want it out in the public eye either. People were making fun of her enough. So she retreated to Chicago. And there was more gossip and speculation about her. If she tried to dispute anything, she was considered unladylike. So she was basically just supposed to take all the gossip and say nothing. Yeah. So after Todd's death, her health had been declining, and she was acting more erratically.
Mm-hmm.
She started to also suffer from, according to sources, paranoid delusions. Mary became...
Do you have more on that?
Yeah. Mary became convinced that Robert, her oldest son, who is now married, was ill, and she rushed all the way home to him where she found him healthy, tried to force him into a doctor. Some sources say that she thought his wife was trying to kill her or him. She wasn't. Spoiler alert. Her son Robert started becoming alarmed at this time of her behavior, but she was starting to tell stories that seemed delusional. Like,
what stories?
On her way in to seeing Robert, she said a Jewish man stole her pocketbook, but then returned it. She also said somebody was following her the whole time.
What?
It's just little stories like that where it's just, there's little tidbit stories like that where you're kind of like, okay. But I want to mention she was grieving. She had just lost all 3 of her out of 4 sons. Thought her last son was ill. She needed money. She probably felt like people were after her after that money. Like, I don't know. In 1872, she went to a spiritualist photographer.
Oh, no.
William H. Mumler, who produced a photograph of her that appears to faintly show Lincoln's ghost behind her. This is now housed at the Allen County Public Library in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Oh, I want to go there now. I want to see this.
Yeah, if you're ever there, you should. Although this image has been found to be a hoax, and it's due to double exposure.
Well, yeah.
P.T. Barnum actually testified. Do you know who P.T. Barnum is?
P.T. Barnum, yes.
Yeah.
The circus man.
He actually testified against Mumler and said he was a fraud.
Oh, well, I've done, when I took photography, it was easy to add a photo and do this, and it's
right.
It's all about what you do in the darkroom.
This just caused a whole lot of uproar, though. It's like 1800s. It was huge. And the fact that P.T. Barnum had to, like, testify against this guy. But because of this, Robert, her eldest son, signed her over into a mental institution.
What?
Yeah.
After everything that she's done and been through, he's like, you're going to go live in a mental institution. I love you, Mom.
Some sources say she was going to pharmacies for drugs for suicide.
Do we have the sources?
Well, we have a couple. But it's all of it is based off of what people are saying. Including a pharmacist who said he was so annoyed at her attempts, he started giving her a placebo. But I did put in here, however, that's not confirmed by Mary that she was ever trying to commit suicide.
Well, of course, Mary's not going to confirm it. She'll be like, yeah, I was trying to kill myself, man. But I mean, to be like giving her a placebo, if I was like, let's say I was Mary, and let's say I was going to this pharmacist that said that he was giving her placebo. If I was not dying from the person who was giving me something that was supposed to help me die, why would I keep going back to that guy?
Oh, sorry. Sources say she was going to pharmacies for drugs and hoarding them for suicide.
Oh, so she would go to like this pharmacy, then that pharmacy to get like.
Correct.
Okay.
With like similar prescriptions or the same one.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, I was like, I'm going to you for drugs and they're not working. Why would I go back to you for more?
Yeah. This is why I need you.
Okay.
3 months after being committed to Bellevue Place, she devised her escape. So this is the insane asylum. She devised her own escape.
She's gonna try and break out.
Well, she smuggled letters to her lawyer, James B. Bradwell, and his wife, Myra Bradwell, who was not only her friend, but also a feminist lawyer. She also wrote to the editor of Chicago Times. Soon the public embarrassment that Robert had hoped to avoid caused him to allow her to leave the treatment facility because he didn't want to be publicly damaged. He declared her well enough to go live in Springfield, Illinois, where she met Abraham, to live with her sister, Elizabeth, as she desired.
I want to know what was in those letters. What dirt were they taking up? That's what someone was writing something in those letters that he was like, I don't want anybody to know this. I don't think it was about publicity. I think it was like some chismosa stuff.
The fact that the letters weren't mentioned too much more, and I looked up several sources.
Mm-hmm.
I think he just didn't want to make more of a spectacle. Honestly, I do. Because his mom had already been in the public eye a lot. I'm not sure at this time that he was even old enough to do anything poorly.
Okay.
Some of the stuff that could have been talked about was just like maybe personal stuff that she was just sharing to people.
Mm-hmm.
But like, maybe she gave him some, I don't know. I didn't find too much information as what was in those letters.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I do think Robert was trying to do the best for his mom. I don't think he was trying to be terrible.
Overall, I do think that most people most of the time are trying to do the best that they can for the people they care about. But there is the odd occasion where someone is really just looking out for numero.
Well, that's part of it, because he took over her financial
asset. But she was broke.
Thank you for saying that, because that's something that makes me think that Robert wasn't terrible. Because people pointed to him taking over her financial assets as him being a terrible person. But she didn't even have enough money to like survive. She was
poor enough to where she was trying to sell her jewels and garments.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was trying to do best by her, and I mean, if taking over her accounts would mean that he could help pay for her care, I could see how that would be a thing.
I do think that's sort of what was happening, but it's not proven even still to this day. You can read a bunch of books. Everything I've read, some sources say one thing, some sources say another thing, but all of them say Robert and Mary were estranged.
Oh, they became estranged.
Yeah, after this, until shortly before her death. So Mary later in life suffered from severe cataracts that reduced her eyesight. This condition also, they believe, made her susceptible to falls. So she was falling a lot. And in 1879, she suffered a spinal cord injury in a fall from a step ladder.
Why was she on a step ladder if she couldn't see very well? Hey, what you doing up there?
She's independent.
Get down.
She went into a coma on July 15th, my birthday. There you
Oh,
go.
she went into a coma on your birthday?
Yeah, now we're even because I shared your birthday and I'm sharing my birthday.
As long as that's
She
not
went
the
into a
year.
coma on July 15th, 1882. Yeah, it was over, 100 years.
1882.
I was born in 94, so...
Why are you sharing the year you were born, guys?
Why does it matter?
It doesn't matter. I'm not sharing the year I was
Well, anyways,
born.
she passed away the next morning of a stroke. So she died July 16th, 1882.
So she was literally asleep for a day. And then she had a stroke while she was in a coma?
So some of the sources think that's what caused the coma, and then she passed away. Some sources think
That she fell off a
had
stepladder? I'm confused now.
No, sorry. She suffered in 1879.
Oh,
She suffered
okay.
a spinal cord injury from a stepladder. But later, in July 15th of 1882,
wait, how long was she? So was she in a coma that whole time?
she didn't go into in a coma when she fell off the stepladder. She just suffered spinal cord injury.
Oh, I thought that.
I was just telling you she was in poor health.
I thought that you had said that she got a spinal cord injury and went to a coma, and then I was like, all of a sudden now she's had a stroke in a coma? I'm confused. Okay.
No, July 15th, she went into a coma, and she passed away the next morning, and they say of a stroke.
Thank you. That clears things up so much more.
I was like, what
was I?
Cool. Something I really want to know. Just backtracking a little bit.
Mhm.
So she did connect again with Robert.
Yeah, you said
who
right
actually
before she passed away.
introduced her to her granddaughter. So she
Oh.
got to also meet her granddaughter.
That's cute.
And I think they were okay. I think they had hoped to maybe have a little bit more time, and then she passed away.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Something I really wanted to note in here. Barbara Hambly, the Emancipator's Wife. This is like the book she wrote, The Emancipator's Wife, 2005, is considered a well-researched historical novel that provides context, and it tells about over-the-counter drugs and alcohol and opium that were frequently given to women of the era.
Oh, yeah.
Frequently.
Yeah, it kept them calm.
Yeah, I'm just noting this.
And docile.
Because this happened a lot. It was a very common thing. But the side effects of any of those things are not the same for every person. Okay?
Care to give me more examples?
Well, the side effects for Tylenol could be different from one person to another.
Well, yeah,
right?
but I want to hear your commercial version of opium. Side effects may include.
No, I don't have one, but just saying some of them could point to why Mary acted the way she did if she was on any of these things, which were commonly given to people of this time.
And you're saying because we really don't have any confirmation that she was given any stuff.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I just, some people it might be a sedative. Some people it might make them a little crazy.
Well, yeah, some people are fine on Ambien, and some people sleepwalk and murder. So
that's what I mean. Like, everybody has different side effects. So, historians today still regard Mary as meddling and insane. Pointing to Mary. More of, in my opinion, what was rumored about her. So my closing remarks, while Mary Todd Lincoln was said to be crazy, she had money problems, and was not a proper quote-unquote lady of the times, it is important to note that she not only fought for slavery to be abolished, she also befriended a woman of color. She loved her husband and children and tried to help soldiers and their loved ones in a time of need. I, for one, I don't think she was crazy. I think she may have not fit in with the times, and it was easier for people of her social circle to talk poorly about her than try and understand her. She was a grieving woman that ended up having some head injuries and other health issues, not to mention all the drugs that were given to women of this time. These could all point to her behaving certain ways, but people still today just say she's bipolar.
Absolutely. I kind of agree with that. Would be my takeaway for the episode is I feel like she was a woman ahead of her time and people didn't like that, and so they likened her to being crazy. And then when you talk about the common over-the-counter drugs that women were given to help keep them docile and under control and
quote unquote,
those quote unquote for sure. And so she probably, I mean, she could have had bipolar disorder, but we don't know. But we also don't know if she was given over-the-counter drugs. So I think she was just a victim of her times when she was way more progressive than the times was ready for. And so they wanted to talk crap on her and be like, oh, Mary Todd, she's just crazy. She's grieving. She's wailing.
Right.
So I think I agree.
It's annoying to me that still is happening today. Although many books were written about her. Many movies have been written about her. I have to note, not all of them portray her in such a hard light. But most of them do at least portray her as meddling.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. But I do feel like if you're a woman director, writer, cast, all that stuff, I feel like if you take into context what Mary was going through all of that, and I feel like it would be a lot different portrayal and it would be more emotional and not necessarily crazy, but it would be I'm emotional because my husband died, my kids have died,
in front of her.
Yeah, and then I'm also emotional because I have no money and the country doesn't support me and I have all these issues that I'm trying to come across. I would be a little unstable myself if I had nothing and no one.
Help soldiers, write letters. Yeah, I feel the same. To me, I'm like, okay, she might have gone crazy, but people pushed her there for sure.
There was no assistance. I'm literally at wit's end, my wit's end, so I might seem a little crazy. Yeah. I'm not crazy, but I might seem a little crazy.
Anytime she tried to do anything about it, people just pointed to her being crazy or not a lady.
Yeah, she's not being ladylike. Ew. I'm with you on that one.
Cool.
So.
Well, that is the story of Mary Todd Lincoln, our Famously Insane Part 2 episode.
Love it. Well, thank you everybody for joining us today on That's Peculiar, the Famously Insane. I love the Famously Insane episodes. I hope you do too. I can't wait to have more. I'm trying to find one that I can host. We're working on it. But thank you everybody for listening. Please like, comment, share, follow.
Anything.
Please, if you're in Russia, Sweden, and Ireland, please continue to listen. We appreciate any love we can get from you. And we'll see you next time on That's Peculiar. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to That's Peculiar. We hope you enjoy it as much as we enjoy making this show happen. If you have a peculiar story you would like to hear, please send us an email to perpetuallypeculiarpod@gmail.com.